To our teachers, these 6 videos are meant for you to use at your discretion to help you teach your students about Texas history, Nacogdoches history, and the history of one of Nacogdoches' most prominent and influential citizens, Nicholas Adolphus Sterne. Adolphus's most recognized side is probably that of a Texas patriot. His efforts and dedication to the Texas cause started soon after he immigrated to America. After arriving in New Orleans when he was just 16 years old, he set up his own traveling merchant business. It was on one of his travels to Tennessee that he met the then governor of that state, Sam Houston, and forged a lifelong friendship. It was Sam that told him of Texas and of Nacogdoches, the ideal place for Mr. Sterne to start his new life. We know that Sterne traveled to Nacogdoches as early as 1824 and established his home base in Nacogdoches in late 1826, just in time to get him involved in the ill-fated Fredonia Rebellion of 1827. The Fredonia Rebellion was an unsuccessful attempt by the Edwards brothers, Hayden and Benjamin, to found a utopian state outside of Mexican rule. It was not popular with most of the locals, though that did not stop Mr. Sterne from joining. Mr. Sterne's contribution to the Fredonia Rebellion was guns and ammunition that he was smuggling into Nacogdoches in the bottom of coffee barrels. Unfortunately, Mr. Sterne was caught smuggling these guns by the Mexican authorities, who did not take kindly to it. They threw him in jail, which was at the time the stone fort that is now located on the SFA campus, and sentenced him to be executed. Sterne's fellow Masons pleaded his case, however, and as long as he promised to never bear arms against Mexico again and pledged his allegiance to Mexico, he would be set free. He made this promise, and he kept it to the letter. That promise kept Sterne, as a man of his word, from military participation in the Texas Revolution, but not from helping in all other ways with its finance, plans, organization, and propaganda. In 1835, Houston asked for Sterne's help. He needed soldiers to fight against Santa Anna. Sterne, of course, couldn't fight himself because of his promise, but he immediately left for New Orleans. In New Orleans, Sterne sat in a coffee shop and talked up the Texian cause, and in one night collected thousands of dollars and names from hundreds of men volunteering to fight against Mexico. Sterne outfitted them with money from his own pocket, providing gray coats, guns, ammunition, and even horses. There were so many soldiers they were divided up into 2 companies, both of whom were known as New Orleans Grays because of their gray coats. One company was sent south by water and ended up in the Battle of Goliad, where all gave their lives. The other company went overland to Nacogdoches, where they camped in Sterne's peach orchard, located directly across from Mr. Sterne's house. The townspeople of Nacogdoches threw a big party, roasted bear, and had a giant feast for the soldiers. Soon after, they marched away to the Battle of the Alamo. We have a replica of the New Orleans Grays flag hanging over our front door. The original was captured by Santa Anna in Mexico, and returned to Mexico, where it can still be found in their National Museum. It was Sterne's effort through participating in the Fredonia Rebellion, an early attempt at Texas independence, and through his financing and recruitment of soldiers for the battles of Goliad and the Alamo, that Sterne displayed his commitment to the ideals of Texas independence. He always wanted the best for Texas, its land, and its people. Another side of Sterne was one local residents of Nacogdoches knew well, a friend. To begin, it was Sterne's friendship with Sam Houston that led him to Nacogdoches in the first place. This friendship was further cemented when Houston was baptized into the Catholic faith in the Sterne's front parlor. Mrs. Sterne even served as Sam Houston's godmother for the occasion. In return, Houston gave Mrs. Sterne a diamond ring to wear every year on the anniversary of his baptism and his birthday. However, Sam Houston wasn't the Sterne's only friend. Many other famous people associated with the events of the Texas Republic often stayed and socialized at the Sterne home. Davy Crockett stayed here 10 days on his way to the Alamo. Chief Bowles of the Cherokee Indians signed an important treaty with Sam Houston here in this house called the Forbes-Houston Treaty. Charles Stanfield Taylor, Sterne's business partner and brother-in-law, and a signer of the Texas Declaration of Independence, was a frequent visitor, as were other local notables, the Durst brothers, millionaire Frost Thorne, the free black William Goins, Senator Thomas J. Rusk, and local beauty Anna Regay. Sterne was known for hosting all-night dinner and dance parties in the house. When large numbers of guests were involved, Sterne would increase his entertaining space by using his front porch and use it as a gallery. His diary mentions enclosing it for a large supper room in the bitter cold of March 1843. The front porch would have been wrapped in cotton or muslin, a lightweight canvas or burlap, to keep out the cold. After the party, the muslin would be taken down, washed, bleached, and hemmed to make bed sheets. Sterne refers to making a room out of the porch during many of his parties. Another aspect of his parties was the wine. At Sterne's parties, he would serve wine and other spirits to his guests. One year, about 1843, he could not find any spirits to serve his guests. Embarrassed, he served the who's who of Nacogdoches well water. Shortly thereafter, Mr. Sterne built himself a wine cellar so he would never again run out of wine spirits. Mr. Sterne was also known for his playing of whist and euchre, popular card games of the time. During these games, they would play cards from the time the sun went down until the sun came up the next morning. At one of the parties, a man named Ben Miller was apparently caught cheating and was innocently shot. We never really know what happens to Ben Miller, but hopefully everything turned out well. Adolphus Sterne was a fun-loving, active man with a real zest for living. He enjoyed dancing, visiting with friends, and card playing. The stone outside, which is one of our historic markers, reads, "The door to Adolphus Sterne was ever open to all the world."